Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Emerald Planet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the Emerald Planet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello, welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you on a week-to-week basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technologies, services, and products that are making a difference as we move to the 21st century. And as we go to a planet of about 9 billion people by 2050, how are we going to be able to take care of all these people, the food, the fuel, the fiber, all the basic infrastructure, everything that's needed so that people actually have an increased quality of life and not just to exist. One of the countries that we're going to be talking about and one of the nations that's actually really moving forward at a very rapid pace is India. And India is trying to balance all of these issues as far as how do we take care of 1.2, maybe almost 1.4 billion people. Some are saying that maybe India now is beyond China as far as population. And so at the same time, they want to increase the quality of life because the Indian people are saying we deserve it and we're going to have it. And someone sitting right beside me is actually working on this. I spent almost a month with him in India, and I can attest the fact that every day he's out there trying to make things happen. This is Mohit Bobby Alawalia. He's an agricultural soils rejuvenation consultant working with the Agricultural Development Trust called KVKs. We'll go over that in a few minutes. And also with the state governments of India. And Bobby, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you, Sam.
You watched us many times on site doing a number of different interviews when we're in India together. But what is this whole thing about rejuvenation of soils? Why is that so important to India? Because everywhere we went, people are actually talking about it, which is amazing to me.
That's right, Sam. Well, India is a country of more than 1 billion people today, and India has been growing food and it's self-sufficient. Now, what has started happening, the farmers were using 1 kg of chemical fertilizer.
That's kilograms.
1 kilogram of organic chemical fertilizer and producing almost about 15 to 18 kgs of food. Now, over the years, the soil has depleted, and with the use of same 1 kg, they can produce just about 6 kgs. So that is almost a degrowth of 2.5 times.
Yeah, I mean, that's just absolutely incredible. And when you look at the map of India, the size of it, how it's spread out, the key location it has as far as Southeast Asia, actually they call it the Indian subcontinent. It's
true.
that large.
That's true.
But agriculture is actually going on absolutely everywhere across India, and almost half the population's involved, I understand.
That's absolutely true, because Indian economy is totally dependent on agriculture.
Totally dependent on agriculture.
I'm sure you must be knowing about it, but I'll share this with you. More than 60%, maybe about 62, 63% of the population is dependent on agriculture.
That's incredible amount of money.
Agriculture is the backbone of the economy. So we have to look after agriculture because it'll feed us, and at the same time it's going to feed Indians in times to come.
Yeah. And it's divided into a number of states. How many states are there, and the population densities across those states, are they fairly balanced, or is some higher than others?
In India today we have 29 states and 7 union territories. And we are the largest democracy of the world. And as your former president coined it, for the people, by the people, and of the people.
Right.
We proudly say we are the largest democracy of the world. And India has tropical weather. So there are parts of India where we have farming of food, which is wheat and rice. Rice, we produce the largest amount of rice. Then where I come from is Bihar, which is almost second largest, most populous state of the country, and we produce largest amount of vegetables.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how the various states are so diverse, quite different. I mean, even when you look at the clothing and the style of living and all that's quite different. And yet, but they all fit together.
Yes.
Sam, and of course, you've had tens of thousands of years to work all that out.
That's true. We have almost about 22 languages in our country and 700 dialects.
700 dialects. That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. But why is India so important to the world? This is something that, I visited there a number of years ago. I've traveled the whole country, but over the last 5 or 6 years, there's just more about India. It's all around us. It was always about China and all that, but now India is really coming to the fore.
We are the growing economy. We are the growing economy, and as agricultural stance, I proudly say, India is the only country which is addressing the soil health issue. It's the only country which is addressing the soil health issue. No other country, to the best of my knowledge, is discussing the soil health.
Well, the whole thing about that, Bobby, is the fact is when you talk about soil health, yes, but the fact is the nutrients that are coming from the food to the people is depleting all across the globe. And it seems like India is really taking this to heart and saying, we need to have these nutrients because our people need to have the sustenance. That's and right. The populations continue to expand.
That's right. If you are an Indian lover, if you see the Jurveda, in chapter 30, it talks about the juice of the soil. So India wants to put the organic matter back to the soil so that plant can draw nutrients and the productivity will go up and gradually the farmer's income will go up. And India is one of the fastest growing economy. And if I'm not wrong, maybe Indians, the Indian youth, between the age group of 25 to 45, we contribute to be #1 in the world.
Yeah, that's absolutely the truth. And when you look at this map with the population density, I mean, it's just like it's bright red or a little bit of red almost over the whole face of India.
Yes. Yes.
And when you go there, you realize just the density of the population.
That's true.
But yet the whole time that you're there, even with this density, everybody seems to have their own space, and you see food absolutely everywhere.
That's true.
So tell us about this essence of food in Indian culture that's so important.
See, as I shared with you, Indian economy is an agriculture economy. So food is, we are self-sufficient. We are self-sufficient in food today. But the need of the hour is not of self-sufficiency, but increasing, doubling the income of the farmers. Now, our Prime Minister also this is on high point on agenda on his agenda to double the farmers' income, because India is a big country and the economy is totally dependent on the agriculture. So, if the farmers are happy, Indians will be more happy. Indians as well are very happy people, and they'll be more happy.
Yeah, one of the things though we haven't really mentioned is the number as far as the middle class, the true middle class of India. And you were talking about you're the largest democracy, 1.2 plus billion people. The United States is, the third largest with 320 million people. You actually have more middle class in India, about 375 million, than we have in our whole population in the United States. Now, this is something that, we're sitting here and laughing about it, but most people would be amazed to understand the actual real numbers of the middle class in Indian society. And so when you talk about agriculture as 62%, and yet you have this huge middle class, where does this meet as far as the middle class, because they're demanding more and better food, and at the same time they're doing that, the farmers are saying, well, we're going to produce better and more food, but we want it ourselves too. Right. How do you work that out?
Well, this is what drives the economy, the middle class. The middle class is the fastest growing in terms of wealth. The middle class gradually moving ahead, and as I shared with you, we're one of the second largest, fastest growing economy in the world. So the middle classes are the ones who are going to benefit the most, because then they have bigger share in the pie, and that is how they're going to spend money, and that is how the country is going to grow.
Yeah, going back to this as far as doubling the income, I mean, that's really an audacious statement that your Prime Minister has made. Right. And he's really pledging it. He's given a real date to that by when we want to achieve it. Yeah. And so how are the farmers taking this? The fact is, the government really is listening to us. They're trying to connect with us. The middle class is, you know, starting to engage with farmers, which hasn't been true in the past. How is all that working out?
See, government is taking a number of initiatives to double the farmers' income. One of the major initiatives is on the productivity. As I shared with you, we have the land, we have the workforce to work on the land. Now, if the farmers get double production from the same land, that is the area where government is concentrating. Now, I being a soil entrepreneur, you can use, soil enthusiast, you can use, I am totally of the view that the production will increase only and only if the soil condition is improved, soil health is improved. Similarly, the government of India has established so many soil labs. Now the farmers can give it to soil lab for testing of the soil, and the government will use that information.
What is the soil report card? Tell us about that. Why is that important? We're going to see an image of that
it's
shortly.
Another beautiful initiative, as I'm discussing with you about the soil. The soil health card is like farmers in India have been used to farming the same crop again and again. Now, soil health card is being established. As I told you, in India, there are 718 districts. Now, government is promoting that you bring the soil to us or send the soil to us. We'll test it in a lab and we'll give you a report what best can be grown and what new practices you need to adopt to improve the productivity.
So the government is becoming really a stakeholder as far as the farmers are concerned, because in the past it was almost hands off, the farmers are okay, they're going to do their own.
In fact,
but now the government's
been
becoming very engaged.
That has been an allegation which at least I don't agree to, because farming government cannot ignore. My country's economy is totally dependent on farmers. It's the backbone of the economy. So government keeps on addressing, and at the same time, government subsidizes the fertilizer cost and is providing seeds, etc., etc.
Bobby, we're gonna go out of here. Let's look at this. Let's just go out on the soil report card. I like that idea. How do you see that expanding and growing as far as the farmers are concerned and the government over the next, say, 5, 10, 15 years?
See, Sam, if we
got to be quick. We only have about 20 seconds.
Okay, so we come back on this. Soil is most essential to give the nutrient to the plant. Now, if the soil health is good, the plant health will be good.
And also the food's going to be good.
Food's going to be good.
This is Mohit Bobby Alwalia, Agricultural Soils Rejuvenation Consultant for the KBKs, the state governments of India, as we create the Emerald Planet.
All right, pal. Get ready for the day, buddy.
Hey, Dad. Hey, Dad. Do we have a gun?
What's that?
Do we have a gun?
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made this vacation happen.
Double points with every purchase?
Cleverly merging promotions.
Love it.
Cross-referencing travel sites. And booking all your flights with those...
Vouchers. I got us bumped.
They were like, oh. But now they're like... Aloha. You aced this vacation. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
I tried Oxy at a couple of parties. I thought I had it under control. I didn't know it'd be this addictive. I didn't know how far I'd go to get more.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth. What to expect when you're expecting.
Like here?
A teenager.
Today, I'm going to show you how to teen-proof your home. First step, hide the car keys. Preferably somewhere they would never look. Challenges will come up. Be ready for them. Hi, honey.
Ready for the... Mom, you don't use mannequins in the mannequin challenge.
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
we're back to the Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we look around the globe for these 1,000 best practices that we talk about on a week-to-week basis. We're looking for what we call the best of the best. As we look at a country called India that actually is on the move. Its economy is one of the fastest growing on the planet, maybe number 1 or number 2. And at the same time, it has the fastest growing population outside of the African continent itself. And maybe India has already gone past China as far as the total number of people, well beyond 1.2 billion, maybe 1.4 billion. At the same time, it has one of the most prosperous middle class. Actually, they have more middle class than the whole population of the United States. That I find absolutely amazing. And have a gentleman that's going to talk about all this as it relates to agriculture, which really is the backbone of the Indian economy, but really the society itself. It's the backbone of the whole society. This is Mohit. He goes by Bobby Alawalia. He's an agricultural soils rejuvenation consultant, Agricultural Development Trust, KVKs, and also state governments of India. And Bobby, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you, Sam.
Glad to have you here. And for full disclosure, I spent about 24 days with you traveling all over India. And it's an amazing country, and I've been there a number of times, and actually I just learned to appreciate it and enjoy it much more. But looking at India, you see these youth running through the rice paddy here. Tell us, what does that image tell us about India?
India is vibrant. India is growing. India is moving strength to strength. And the youth of the country are the ones who are going to be future rulers of the country. And if the youth is fresh and is in good health, the country is going to prosper more.
Yeah. And that's one of the things about agriculture. I just love this photograph, and this little guy in the back is trying to catch up with the larger children. And it really is about India, because, you know, we've always talked about, you know, other big countries, but India is the one now that's really people are starting to focus on and be very serious about. But one of the things, the serious aspect of all this, and this I learned as I was traveling there, is that there's a real need for water. It has one of the highest rainfalls in the world. It hits actually on the Indian subcontinent, but much of it runs off. And a lot of that has to do with the soil itself, which really goes to the work that you're doing. So why, you know, huge rainfall, but the soil is not grabbing it and putting it back in? What's going on there?
Well, if you allow me to say bluntly, it's because of the chemical fertilizers which the farmers had been using from the last 30 years.
This is going back to the Green Revolution of the 60s and 70s.
We paid this price because, of course, it increased the productivity. The country became self-sufficient in food, but the soil regeneration is required. What is required, what is the need of the hour? The soil health is depleted to such a level that water is not penetrating and it's being wasted.
Yeah. So I want to look at this. 100 million people, poor water quality, and 54% of the groundwater wells are decreasing. And I saw that when I was traveling, because I went to all different areas of India. And this is not atypical what we're looking at right here, as far as, you know, got all this rainfall, but yet it's not getting into the soils. So what is happening now, this focus, you know, as far as the soil report card, the focus of the government on rejuvenation, I mean, you're really as kind of the leader of the band in India for this rejuvenation of the soil. So what is happening now is changing the minds, but also the focus as far as the government is concerned to really work with the farmers so that you're improving the quality of life for everyone equally.
To be exact, you know, the government is, in some parts of the country, government is very seriously thinking of water, farmers using drip irrigation. With the result, the water is not wasted, and then at the same time, our country has a couple of very good rivers, so water is in plenty. But the only thing is that certain parts of the country it rains, and certain part of the country where it doesn't rain, because the farmers are dependent on rainfall for irrigation. So we need to improve the irrigation facilities also in certain areas, and certain areas facing drought and certain area facing flood at the same time. So that's also a challenge.
Yeah, and the whole thing about it, Bobby, is when you're there, you understand this is going on simultaneously.
That's
You
right.
got a drought in one state,
Right.
and the other people are,
Yes.
being washed
Yes.
away, literally.
But if you see the history of India, the states which had good water, good canals, produced more. The productivity was much more there than the states which didn't have the irrigation facilities up to the mark. So the country is really working on it, and to the best of my memory, only recently, about 4 or 5 months ago, or maybe 6 months ago, our Prime Minister visited Israel, and there the main agenda of discussion was bringing in the drip water technology to India.
Yeah,
So-
and actually, he probably was meeting with the father of drip irrigation. He's actually been on Emerald Planet TV several years ago and was talking about this very point. And I saw actually some of his technologies that he developed when we were in Baramanti,
That's right.
Maharashtra
That's
State,
right. That's
at the
right.
KVK there.
That's right.
But the KVKs are this Agricultural Development Trust. They're the ones that really are trying to seek this balance. And what we have this image in front of us, this balance of the food, of the water, and then actually being able to save that food so that the people actually get it. And we understand that there's a lot of this food that's wasted. So you're producing it, but a lot of that's not getting to the consumer. How do we strike that balance?
That's a very good question, and our country is really working on it. How to save or how to increase the shelf life of the food. So solar, I'm sure you will be doing one of these interviews one of these
Absolutely.
days. Solar cold storage is a big thing in the sense that the crop which is grown or the vegetables which is grown by farmers don't go waste but goes to the cold storage.
Yeah,
So-
and actually the gentleman who's leading this in India is going to be on, on the Emerald
my guess
Planet
was right,
TV.
Sam.
Yeah, we've already talked to him, and
Yes.
it's already set up.
Yes.
But what we're doing is we're going to combine the solar drying with the solar cooling, so you're doing both, and then you elongate this.
That's right.
But looking at organics, I know that this is something that you're looking at. How do
Exactly.
you balance the organics, with the chemical use of fertilizer, kind of going in inverse proportions. How do we do that so that farmers are not being asked to just switch to organics, but they're allowed to produce, but they can understand that they can use less chemicals and improve the soil health?
Yeah. Sam, it is in the fitness of things that I share with you what I feel. I'm of this school of thought that don't do away with chemical fertilizers. Chemical fertilizers have given you green revolution. Chemical fertilizers increase the productivity. Now the only thing is you have to tame the heat of chemical fertilizers. Now how do you do that? You do with organics. You give back to the soil what is required. The organic matter is required in the soil, which will build the soil, and plants will draw nutrition from the soil, because plants get food from the soil, and if that is done, the productivity will automatically go. And when I'm talking of organic matter putting it back to the soil, I'm talking about humic matter, humic acid, and in such a way that the soil is regenerated. It's no more depleted.
Yeah. I'm going to leave this up here. This is something I found absolutely fascinating, this agricultural sector and all the different areas the government, along with the farmers and the KVKs, the Agricultural Development Trust, again, are working together in all this. But they have this this motto, and actually it's a real movement, is that, less water, more output.
That's right.
And there's a phrase for that whole thing, and I really like that. Tell us about that, and why, and farmers seem to be embracing that.
Right.
Okay.
Well, KVK is a Government of India initiative. KVK stands for Krishi Vikas Kendra. To explain you in English, I would call it Agriculture Center.
An Agricultural Development Trust, as that was translated.
Various trusts run it, various government agencies run it, depends on the functioning of the KVK.
Got it.
Now, this KVK, as I shared with you, there are 718 districts in India. And believe me, there are 695 KVKs. That means almost 1 KVK per district. Now, some are performing very, very well. Some are below the mark. Some are just, struggling to improve. But this is a very good initiative of Indian Council of Agricultural Research. So the farmers...
And we're seeing some of this actually here in this photograph, of some of this work of
and
vertical farming.
The KVK you visited is one of its kind, and I'm sure you'll also agree. It is the KVK, and it's run by Agricultural Development Trust, whereas all these other KVKs are not run by Agricultural Development Trust. And it is under the dynamic chairmanship of Mr. Rajendra Pawar. You had the honor of meeting that great man who has a vision for farmers. And that KVK, what you saw, is a role model in the sense that it is helping farmers not only in soil, it is helping in animal husbandry, it is helping horticulture, it is helping in floriculture, everything.
Yeah, it's
you
just
saw
absolutely
it yourself.
amazing. What, about 150 plus or minus acres?
Right.
And when you were there, if it's in agriculture, it was going on.
Yes.
And they even transported the sea right into the middle of the desert.
And you could see in those 4 days, 400,000 farmers coming there for, educating themselves what is good for crop, what is not good for crop, what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
So that is KVK.
Yeah, and I put this image up here of this gentleman. He's on his cell phone. He's got his laptop in front of him. He's an Indian farmer sitting in the middle of his field. Yes. And we kind of laugh about that, but this is really what's going on, because they're, this 460 plus thousand farmers that, and I was standing in the road. Right. Every one of them had, a cell phone.
Oh yes.
And they were using it. And
the government is using the apps. See, India is an IT country. India is the IT country. So now the government is putting in the best use of apps for farmers. So they can inform farmers over SMS or WhatsApp what is good for the soil and which crop they should, as per the soil lab test report, which crop, and then grants also. The farmers get the information of the grants which they're going to get from the government. Yeah, from time to time.
We got about 20 seconds. What do you see for the growth and expansion of the KVKs, but more particularly trying to address soil health?
Soil health is, all KVKs have soil labs. All KVKs have soil lab, and soil health is what's going to drive the farmers. How they improve the organic matter in the soil, because fertilizers they're already using themselves.
Yeah. So now they have to get this balance between the organic and the soil.
Exactly.
This is Mohit Mavi Alawalia, Agricultural Soils Rejuvenation Consultant, KVK, State Government, Great Emerald Planet.
So, I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that! That's disgusting! Oh, poop already! You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
So how was work?
It was 1,300 hours. My math class from 302 was in the trenches. Davy Roth had it the worst. Fractions were coming at him left and right. He just didn't get the damn things. 2 days ago, I tried to teach him what 1/4 of 1/2 was using different sizes of blocks. Yesterday, I tried again by dividing up pizza. Both missions failed.
Oh, no.
But today, I was ready. I created a combat math game where the only way to beat the enemy is to out-fraction them. Davy conquered every last denominator. My game was so successful, the principal is deploying it to math squadrons all over the school.
Anywho, how was your day?
Oh, today my boss treated the office to salad wraps.
Salad wraps.
I know.
150 over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it, or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
we're back to the Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet TV as we look around the globe for what we call the best of the best, 1,000 best practices, technology, services, products, processes, and the people. All those P together go together as far as how we're going to grow the planet. That's going to about 9 billion people by 2050. And then looking at the focus on the country of India, over 1.4 billion people may be already there, if not within the next few years. And so I have a gentleman sitting right beside me who is in the middle of that, coming from Bihar State, very beautiful, dynamic, and populated area, as I found out. And yet at the same time, India truly is on the move with one of the fastest growing economies on the planet, a IT company and country, because it's using that for agriculture. And I think, Bobby, this is something that's very important. I need to introduce you. This is Mohit Bobby Alwalia, Agricultural Soils Rejuvenation Consultant, working with the KVKs, the Agricultural Development Trust, and it's kind of the extension service of India, if you will. That's what I think about with the land-grant universities in the United States and the state governments of India. And you balance all of that, and you do it very well, because I was traveling with you. But looking at the challenges, the opportunities, and the future as far as agriculture in India. And you're really trying to get to the best practices. This is something that not only is India wanting to show and exemplify best practices, it wants to be a best practice. What is that mentality of where India really is working towards itself being a best practice, not just having a lot of different best practices?
See, the best practices, when you talk about best practices, is the support the government is providing to the farmers. Now, India, as I shared with you, is an IT country. So the government has come up with apps. Government is providing information to the farmers.
And they're doing this, and I want to interject this because many people think about in the United States with laptops and all that. India really is leapfrog, way beyond that, where most of the farmers and many of the homes, because of lack of consistent energy and all that, they're using the cell phones, the mobile phones, literally for everything.
Right.
Kids for their education, the farmers for marketing and how to plan for their crops, and the businessmen and all that, and the ladies. So these apps, where are these coming from, and how is the government generating these and then getting it out to the farmers?
See, government is, I shared with you, these soil labs. Once the soil labs, let's say if I'm a farmer and I've sent my soil for testing in the soil lab. Now, when I send this soil to the soil lab, there they have the data of my name and my mobile number and all other details and what crop I'm growing in which area. So through this app, through IT, they are informing me as a farmer what I should be doing, which crop I should be growing on my fields, and what inputs should I be putting in as per the health of the soil. So when we talk about the soil health, we're talking about 5 things essentially. One, what is the water, that is the moisture, how good or bad soil is. Number 2, we're talking of life, the microbes which are there in the soil.
And this is really critical.
Yes, this is really critical. We are talking about how the plant which I'm growing draws maximum number of mineral nutrients from the soil. So all this information the government will provide, and government is encouraging to use the organic path. As I understand, the organic path doesn't mean leaving aside everything which is chemical. Like the state where I come from, the dynamism of the Honorable Chief Minister, Mr. Nitish Kumar, and the Agricultural Minister, Dr. Prem Kumar, they are the first ones to have organic corridor. Now this organic corridor is not talking of only organic growing. They are saying, how do we assist the farmers with organic farming, that is putting in back the organic matter in the soil, and the farmer using the chemical fertilizer also, and his productivity is going up.
Now, looking at this, I saw this everywhere I went, and I was really in some remote areas, just like in Rajasthan. And I jokingly say the only thing that were passing us on the road were monkeys and camels. I mean, we were that far out there, and it was amazing. But yet, you get to the end of the road, and here's a whole village that is all solar powered. They weren't on the grid, all solar powered.
That's true.
And they were using it, and many of these were women, as we see in this photograph here. And they were incorporating that in not only education for the children, but in their developing their own industries, and again, a lot of that around agriculture. So how is India incorporating these renewables, the renewable energy, into agriculture, and then this in turn allows people to use these apps that the government's providing on all these cell phones, which everybody seems to have one.
Right. So the agriculture field is using solar. Government is pushing a lot of funds in solar, like I shared with you about the solar cold storage. Similarly, what you saw in Rajasthan, I'm sure it must have taken to the villages where they are irrigating through solar pumps.
Yeah, I saw that everywhere. And actually,
they are drawing water and using the solar pumps to irrigate. So that is how it is growing, and that is how the government is providing all the...
Yeah, but one of the things I found out about this too is that they're actually, because they're capturing the water, putting it into these injection wells, they're actually raising the water table, which had been depleted because we saw that, the 54% depletion rate as far as the wells are concerned. And this one village, just similar to one I showed here with the solar panels and the women with the crops, is they had raised the water table 1 foot within that area. And you see the produce here, this is actually going in to produce this increased amount of food with more nutrients. So how does the government balance that, and then these KVKs, the Agricultural Development Trust, bring all this about for the farmers so they get access to all the inputs they need to increase their productivity and their income?
See, some states have started rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting increases the water level. And with the result, after the rains are over, the same water can be used for irrigation purpose. So that is one of the initiatives which government is again taking to improve on the water level. The water level which has been going down over the years, and now the water level has started moving up. So that is how the government, or there are NGOs, non-government organizations, who are promoting to increase the water level. So that it can be used for irrigation.
Yeah, I went to a number of different villages that are actually doing that, but I was amazed that within 3 years they raised the water table 1 foot. 1 foot, that's incredible. And so they were capturing all that, and then we went to the injection wells. I mean, it's a real system they have. And we're looking at this complex photograph here of all these different crops from, tea in the high mountains, the hill stations, all the way down towards the sea. So doing all that, capturing this water, there must be many different ways of doing that.
Of course. See, India is a tropical weather country. So the farmers, large number of farmers are still dependent on the rainwater for irrigating their farms. So what you see here is that various places, as I feel, I'm a very strong believer, for agriculture purpose, you don't have to go to the classrooms, you have to visit the villages.
Yeah,
that's where it's happening.
That's where it's happening.
That is what is required that's the need of the hour. Talk to farmers and they give you more inputs than what is in the classrooms.
Well, looking at this gentleman here, we have a call from Esther of San Diego talking about how are the farmers themselves feel like they're being engaged, being respected, being part of society, because in the past it's just like you had the farmers here, you had the middle class, the college educated, it was all this division. But now she's saying is it seems like that the society itself is more trying to be a whole and to support one another. Is that what you see?
Exactly.
Just like this gentleman here right in front of us.
Yes, exactly. See, as I shared with you, more than 60% of the population is dependent on agriculture. So no matter what profession you take, you have roots there in the village. So when you have roots there in the village, you're not forgetting your village. So the roots are the economy, the backbone of the economy is the agricultural income.
And we're looking at it here where you're trying these new techniques. Also the drip irrigation you were talking about. We talked about the trip, the Prime Minister to Israel. Looking at drip irrigation, what is that actually doing? How does that really work? We're looking at a setup of this, but how does that actually work, and how does that relate to the plant, but also, Bobby, to the soil?
With drip irrigation, the beauty of drip irrigation is it is giving the desired amount of water to the soil for the plant. Nor are you overdoing it. See, Israel did it because they didn't have water. And that came as a blessing of disguise to the world. It's a gift of Israel to the entire world. This technology is so beautiful, and so, as you saw it in Baramati yourself, they were using drip irrigation in all the farms.
Yeah. Well, they were actually using it in what we call hot houses.
Right.
You know,
and
they were using it everywhere.
One of the places in India where the rainfall is minimum, and they are growing sugar cane, which requires water all the time.
Yeah. And this is one of the things that was amazing. You're talking about the canals, how they had put this huge canal system, you know, across there, and all of a sudden, and then of course sugar, with the amount of sugar that the Indians eat. Right. I mean, that is a real cash crop. There's no doubt about that.
That's right.
But we're seeing this mechanization, and we're getting to the end here, Bobby. But you have these small plots,
right?
Millions of people involved, but yet India is a large-scale agricultural production country.
Right.
And so, how do you see that balance? How are people actually seeing the equipment, heavy equipment coming in, and farmers that are still doing things a lot by hand?
Because the farm holdings is very small compared to other places. A farmer has a very small holding of land, but with invasion of new technology, he is also educating himself, and there are NGOs which are educating the farmers the best farming practices which he need to adopt. Then only his productivity will go up. Otherwise, his productivity is not going to go up. If he is not ready to be in tune with times, how is his productivity going to go up?
Yeah. And the whole thing about it, we have this huge field of corn. This is part of India as well as these very small plots. But looking at this doubling of the income of the farmers, we have to be off quick. Right. How does this rejuvenation directly relate to this doubling of the income of the farmers?
The doubling of income will come only if the soil health improves, which farmers need to improve. See, he has a set of land which he cannot increase, so he better produce more so that his income doubles.
And also to use less inputs at the same time.
Exactly, to save on the cost.
Bobby Alawalia, thank you, sir, as we create the Emerald Planet.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. I already posted it.
I got a crick in my neck, limp in my step, cramping in my muscles every time I try to flex. But I don't wanna get up. It's very sad, no more love. All that I could do was remember you. You know I usually say no, but if you throw me love, I'll throw you some more.
It's a big responsibility.
Oh, it's huge. I know, it's huge.
And the salary.
Oh my god, yes. I
Right?
mean, like, I was about to move in with my parents, and right before, so this saved me.
I really believe in you, you know?
Thank you. It's nice to hear that from someone.
These are cool. Did you, what did you...
we're back to the Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock. I come to you on a weekly basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we're looking around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technology, services, products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. I'm President and Executive Director of Emerald Planet and the Emerald Planet TV. And we're looking across the globe in many diverse countries, looking for those best practices that, as we say, can be used across 10,000 different villages, regardless of the continent and regardless of the language, the type of people, socioeconomic background, whatever it may be, total diversity. But at the same time, how can these be applied to increase the quality of life as we go to a planet of some 9 billion people by 2050? And I have a gentleman sitting right beside me who is in maybe the world's most populous nation now, maybe, about 1.4 billion people. It's being rumored now, so beyond where China is. But this is Mohit Bobby Alawalia. He's an agricultural soils rejuvenation consultant, working with the Agricultural Development Trust, KVKs, and also a number of state governments in India. And I had a chance to meet many of those governors and the ministers of ag during the time I was with you. And that was just really an excellent opportunity to see the interior, the inside of India as it's actually changing not only its inside, but it's actually its face to the world. And that's incredible. And it's just like these young people on the back of the scooter, you know, showing the flag, their energy, their excitement. But India is like that. It's a very dynamic, it really has a certain joy about it.
I know.
That it's just everywhere around you. It's in its food. It's in you know, every aspect of society. But looking at all this, how is that you're trying to help? You know, through your consultancy, you're reaching out to the state governments, and I've been to 8 of those with you, and then also as far as these KVKs, these Agricultural Development Trust. So the work that you're doing, reaching into there, but at the same time, you're taking that and you're bringing that to the outside so that the farmers, that's over 60% of the population, has a better life.
Right.
How do we do all of that? And do it quick?
Well, Sam, I just shared with you about my vision. Now, I'm this school of thought that India will improve on its doubling the income of the farmers, not through seeds. My thought process is not seed-centric, but it's soil-centric. My area of working is soil, how to build the soil. Now, to build the soil, as I shared with you earlier, the humic matter, the organic matter must go back to the soil. As you visited India, and we were in a couple of states, the KVK, the best example is KVK, Baramati, under the leader of dynamic leadership of Mr. Rajendra Pawar, who's the chairman of the Agricultural Development Trust. He imported humic acid in liquid form made out of coal from USA.
That's amazing, this connection, and also using coal for that, because it's not only increasing the value for the farmers, but also increasing the value for coal for Americans.
Right. So we imported it, and the KVK used it, and the KVK organized a seminar how to double farmers' income after a span of 1 year after this product was put to test.
Yeah, and the whole thing about it too, this all fits in with the central government, because it's saying by 2022, I believe is the date, we must, must double the income of the farmers, correct?
So that's what I'm sharing with you. There we met the farmers who were growing vegetables. There we met farmers who were growing pomegranate. There we farmers who were growing grapes. There we met farmers growing sugarcane.
Well, rice and wheat, you know, everything.
Everything.
Absolutely everything.
But the results which we got of the humic acid which we imported, they imported, made out of coal in liquid form, was huge. And gradually, with passage of time, now the Grape Growers Association, MDRS, which is based out in a place called Pune, they have placed orders because they use their products in various farms, different farms. And then another dynamic company by the name BVG, under the leadership of Mr. Hanmantrao Gaikwad, he placed orders, again, humic acid made out of coal in liquid form, and he's importing from USA.
Yeah. Now, the whole thing about this, we also learned as far as the chemical fertilizers that people are going from the pellets, they're going to liquid form.
Right.
And so this fits in with what's actually happening as best practices as being taught through the KVKs and through the government offices. Why liquid form and not the pellets, which is what we used when I was a kid on the ranch.
All right. I'll just share with you, a couple of hours ago, we went and met this farmer, Lawson, Mr. Lawson, at Lawson Farms in Virginia. Now, he is another person, I thought he's speaking my language. He is using only fertilizers in liquid form from the last 10 years.
Now, why moving away from the granules, which is, when I was a kid, that was most popular, now to liquids?
He shared what was my thought process, that when you put the liquid form, it is going into the soil. But when you're just throwing the granules, it is not hitting the soil. Some remain on the soil. So he was of the opinion, I don't know whether right or wrong, that only 6% of the chemical fertilizers is being used when you use it in granular form. So he was a big advocate of using, chemical fertilizers, that also in liquid form.
Yeah, and this whole thing about too is just like when I take my vitamins every morning. I have many of them now are more and more becoming in liquid form because it's easier to absorb by the body. But some of them, like the multivitamin, is still in the pill form. I crush that and I take it to its a powder. So mix a little liquid with it, and I'm taking it. So this is really the same thing you're talking about, fertilizer to the soil. Exactly. It's the same thing as we as humans intaking vitamins and minerals.
Sam, when I'm talking of the soil health, I'm just comparing a plant with a human body. Now, doctors over the years decided what should be my body temperature. If it's below or higher than that, I fall sick. Similarly, the doctors decided what should be the blood sugar level. The doctors decided what should be the blood pressure level. Similarly, if we are giving back the organic matter to the soil, the plants which is drawing the mineral nutrients from the organic matter, which is there available in the soil, filtering it, the plants will be healthy. Now, once the plants will be healthy, the requirement of pesticides will also go down.
Now, this is the thing that I find really fascinating. This is something that I've observed over the years, is that as you increase the health of the soil, you increase the health of the plants, they have their own antibodies, just like we have our own antibodies.
Absolutely.
And we can ward off, and the plants can ward off the insects and the molds and the mildews and all the other pests that go into it.
Dr. Saad, who has been using liquid humic acid being imported from USA in liquid form, his claim is that with the use of this, the soil is improving and the pesticide requirement is being reduced by almost 80%.
Yeah, and also too is going back, and this is something you and I have discussed, ad nauseum, as far as the organics versus the chemicals. But you are seeing this inverse proportion as you have more of this going in on the organics, that there are less and less use as far as the chemicals, and then the soil health improves itself. And then also the root structures actually grow much larger, much deeper. So what is happening into the soil itself as those roots go deeper and deeper into the soil, and then how does that increase the aerobic and anaerobic bacteria quality in that soil, which is what this is all about?
See, as I've been talking to you about, when I'm talking about organic matter, what I mean is humus, humic matter, and humic acid. Now, whatever little research I have done on this subject, the molecule of the humic acid is such that it allows the benefits of the chemical fertilizers for plants, which is required. The plants also require these chemical fertilizers. You can't do away with that. But gradually, with passage of time, once you build on the soil, you can reduce the quantity of chemical fertilizers. And a country like us, India, why is government insisting on doubling the farmer's income? the productivity, because they want to reduce the cost of the inputs also.
Yes.
Once the soils are built.
And that's
because
something
these chemicals are very expensive, and it is the taxpayers' money which is being routed through the government to the farmers in way of subsidies.
Yeah, and when you have over 60% somehow involved in agriculture,
Right.
that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of
that's going out. And I just love this photograph of this gentleman walking through the field. And but you know, India is such a beautiful place, and everywhere you go, it's so diverse. You know, the geography is as diverse as the people.
Right.
So looking at the soil types, how do you determine, I know you talked about this apps that the government's providing, the farmers have them on their
Yes.
telephone and
Yes,
all that.
that's right.
How do you determine what that area, wherever they're from, no matter whether it's in Rajasthan, or Maharashtra, or Tamil Nadu, how do you determine what the soils in that area needs, and in turn how that impacts the quality of the foodstuffs that's being produced in those areas?
See, as I talked to you about these KVKs, these soil labs are situated in that particular state. So they are giving report of that particular soil which is there.
So it's unique to each of those states and actually those districts
and
too.
Sam, believe me, if you Google or if you just see that, no country in the world is talking about the soil health. And the uniqueness of this soil health is this is the area which needs to be addressed. See, genetic GM foods, highly debatable. But soil health, no one is debating on that. Because everyone wants, because my country, where the farmer is the country's economy, imagine if the farmer is just doubling his income, how the economy will boom.
Yeah.
And how this middle class will graduate to a higher class.
Yeah. Yeah, and also too is what you're taking as far as the number of middle class, that's going to expand.
Right.
But also you're going to have a number of these agriculturalists are actually going to start joining the middle class.
Right. And as I was sharing, I will just share with you in place in Bihar, the educated boys are coming back into farming. I just, I'll just share with you as an NGO, Jaya Prabha Mahila Kendra, under the dynamic leadership of two boys, DK Singh and this guy, Deepak Shah. They are pumping a lot of money to bring in the food, that is the surgeon food, high with protein, and which was never grown in that field, and it is only because of the soil reports they've been advised to grow this crop.
Bobby, we're out of time. This is Bobby Alwalia from India, working with the KVK, state government, as we bring Emerald Planet. Bobby, thank you for being with us.